Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, I told a Brexiter a joke. What time did the monster eat the Prime Minister? 8 p.m. And the Brexiter looked at me and said, I really don't get it. 8 p.m, that's the time. Why are Brexiters so stupid? Why are they so thick? And you are in Great Britain, where 95% of the politicians hate you, like something what they stepped in, like a tick that's under the skin, what they need to take tweezers and just pop it out. And the reason why I say that is because this morning I was listening to the radio, and a guy come on and he said, his landlord, because at the moment they're speaking about the housing crisis that we're having at the moment, and the housing crisis, right, and the councils going bankrupt have got something in common. Those two things, and that is right that the councils are paying so much money to temporarily house people that they're bankrupting themselves, right, when they should be collecting rent from those people, because you know what, they've given them social housing to live in, not paying private landlords millions and millions of pounds to house these people for them. It was always a mistake. But this morning, as I was saying, I heard this story, right, about this man. He said, come on the radio, and he said, his landlord asked him and another family to move out of the house they was renting. So his family and another family to move out of the house they was renting because they wanted to do some repairs. A couple of weeks later, they saw the house was being rented out for more money. Happened to be a house of a Labour politician. I don't know which one, because they wouldn't say on the radio. But, just goes to show you, that these politicians, they can't stand the people of this country. They are voting in the House of Parliament for their own interest. When you've got Labour politicians as well, that are landlords as well, we've always known this was a problem. We know it's a major problem with the Tories, right? But I've always known that there's going to be Labour politicians out there who are doing this as well. But that's what these guys are doing. They are voting against our interest for their very own selfish interest. Keeping the houses prices high, not building social housing, not bringing in things like rent controls, right? Just leaving people to their own devices. They're in the same position where they're making people who are poor people or, working class, even middle class, buy a house for them. Our politicians are doing that to us. We should be the people stepping up and saying, no. We need to set the rules for these people. We seriously need to set the rules for them, because they should not be allowed to do this. If they've got anything they've got an interest in, right? They shouldn't. If you've got an interest in anything like this, you shouldn't be allowed to be in Parliament. You've got interest in the housing market, you shouldn't be allowed to be in Parliament, because you're voting on these things, and they're often voting against our interest, right? The Labour, they pretend they vote for in our interest, but you know something, they know that they're going to be voting. The Tories, especially over the last 14 years, the Tories can outvote them. So they could just say, well, look at us, we're voting on your behalf. We're voting for you. When it comes down to the needs for disabled people, or the social health, we're always voting in your favour. But we know that the Tories have the majority, and it doesn't make any difference. But that's not the point. We're still voting on your behalf because we think about you. We love you. No, they don't. They can't stand our guts. They hate us with an absolute passion. Right? Only people that you hate, you would do this to. You vote, right? The whole country, they're holding the whole country to ransom, so they can get a few extra pounds. So they hold the whole country to ransom, voting against the country's interests, so that they can keep the housing market, keep the prices high. No social housing. Just making sure that, that the working classes are buying a house for very, very wealthy individuals, including themselves. And we allow it. Just look at what they've done with their wages. Before they used to do their wages themselves. Then they've got an independent body to do it, which actually gives them more money than they would have given themselves. How does that work? Have you ever known anything like that? No, not in our life. That doesn't happen. Only happens in their life, because all they do is they look down upon us. That's why you've got people like, Chris Skidmore. He's the one who just resigned a couple of weeks ago, right? Priti Patel, um, Dominic Raab, Kwasi Kwarteng, all wrote that book, Britannia Unchained, because that is what politicians think of the people in this country. If you notice, how much times have you heard the Labour politicians throwing that in their face? The Labour politicians think the same. They just think the same. They're just like, well, you know what? They can vote. They make it look like they're voting in our interest. Guaranteed, when the next time the Tories are in, they'll probably do the same. They'll probably do voting, make it look like they're in the people's interest. But as soon as they get into power, right, they'll just stick it to the people, as the Labour Party is going to stick it to the people when they come in, because they're not going to do anything. They're not really going to do anything that the people really need. They're not going to go on a massive house building like Jeremy Corbyn probably would have. They're not going to go on that. They're not going to go out on a redistribution of wealth. No. They're just going to, they're going to probably open up a few like leisure centres and this type of nonsense. But they're going to stick it to us. Because remember, it's the Labour mayor that has pushed through the congestion charge, knowing what it's going to do to people. So, as I say to you, these people, they can't stand us with a passion. Valdo Calacane, the man who murdered 3 people in Nottingham, is another reason why I tell you these politicians cannot stand us. They hate us because they allow the mentally ill on the streets to murder us. They've allowed this to happen because this is what you call care in the community. This man, right, should have been in sheltered accommodation or in a mental, in a mental health hospital. Back in the day, I remember my brother coming home and calling these things like loony bins. It's not very nice, but this is what because there was one around the corner from not far from me called Goodmays. So and that's the one. It's a massive hospital for the mentally ill. It's shrunk down a lot because we want to save money. That's what all these things are about. They don't want to look after the elderly. They don't want to look after children. They don't want to look after the mentally ill. The difference is the mentally ill, they really do need to be to be policed, not by the police itself, but by the NHS has to have these people under their control all the time. And someone like this, you have to make sure that he's taking his meds, because if he doesn't take his meds, apparently his schizophrenia was medical resistant, so it's drug resistant one. But obviously he was still on the meds anyway. But this is another case, right, of politicians really letting the people down. But it's all about saving money, and that's the reason why they don't want to keep these people in accommodation where they should be, because this guy's been in managed to be in accommodation with obviously with normal people, but people who are not mentally ill, and end up breaking his flatmate's finger, making a girl jump out of a window. So the police was well aware. Obviously, the police was well aware because he was, there was warrant out for his arrest for over a year because he assaulted a policewoman, which may not have had him locked up. And if it did, it would have had him in in a prison, which is not the type place someone who's schizophrenic should be anyway. There's far too many people in prison who have got mental health problems. You're looking at maybe 25% of prisoners who have mental health problems, and then you're looking at a massive amount of them who have got ADHD, and then a massive amount of them who are dyslexic. So that makes up a bulk of the prison population. Just those three, just those 3 numbers right there, right? So this man should have had someone every day watching him take his meds, because it might take a week, 10 days, 21 days, 30 days, before all the meds is completely out of their system. But this guy, he turned up at MI5 to say to them, listen, you've planted something in my head. And, the thing with the people with schizophrenia, they get into their head, that you're watching them or you're putting stuff in their food and all that type of thing. And once they've got that into their head, that obviously turns them into a very serious. And if you've got someone who's like a big, strong lad like this guy is, and already his the people who was handling, supposed to be his handlers, like social workers, all that, I think they were all pretty scared of him as it was, So he had done quite a lot of things that they should have said, well, listen, this guy needs to be like in in an institution, not an institution where he's locked up, but just somewhere where it's probably warden controlled, and you've got someone that makes sure that he takes his meds every day. And if he doesn't, if he misses 1 or 2 days, then they can get onto the correct authorities to tell them, listen, he's missed his meds, so we really need to get something done. Now, obviously, he's in a situation now where, he'll be forced to take them. He will take them every day. If he needs to take them every day, he will take them every day, because they will make sure that that's what happens, the place where he is now. But, that's what they should have been doing from before. They decided a long time ago that they want to save money here, they want to save money there, they don't want to pay for this, they don't want to pay for that, and they want to try and run Britain as some kind of business, when you cannot run a country as a business. And the only reason why this can happen in this country is because the politicians cannot stand the people in this country, and that is why they allow the mentally ill out on the streets so that they can take pot shots at us. And we've already got the police saying, well, we're not going to go out to these type of, but who else can deal with these type of people? It's only the police can deal with these type of people. Nobody else can deal with someone who is this violent, unless obviously he's in one of the, in the place where he is now, because obviously, the guys who he's with now are, they're not nurses. They're more like screws, and they're very heavy-handed, and they will get like hands-on with him immediately if he steps out of line. But as I say, this all is just down to us having completely incompetent politicians who who have been for years, right, ripping us off, voting against our interest, voting for their own interest. They cannot stand the people of this country. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. Special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So overnight, we've had the death penalty handed out to a man named Kenneth Smith, I believe that's what his name is, who committed a murder in the 80s. It was a murder for hire, and he was paid $1,000 to murder a preacher's wife, and he was obviously paid by the preacher. And it's taken over 30 years for them to carry out the death penalty on this guy. But the whole controversy is because of the way how his death was carried out. He was basically gassed to death, and it took 22 minutes for him to die. And you think, well, isn't that just a bit cruel? Right? I know what he done. He more than likely deserved. I don't agree with death penalty, but for what he done, he more than likely deserves it. But there is talk that it wasn't actually him that actually pulled the trigger or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But stabbed because she got stabbed, but it wasn't actually him that done it. But he was involved. He was heavily involved in it. So, and he's been on death row all that time, 30 odd years on death row for for $1,000. I mean, how stupid would you have felt on death row all that time? For $1,000. I mean, in today's clothes, we go back down to today's clothes, probably worth maybe $2,300, I suppose, maybe, don't know, right? But it was just horrific in the way how they killed him. I mean, I can't understand why they couldn't just put a bullet in his head, because that would have been instantaneous. Do you know what I mean? Or in his heart, that would be instantaneous. right? But to allow someone to suffer for 22 minutes, right, to carry out a death sentence, is just that is awful. It's absolutely terrible. And another reason why I think that the death penalty should be banned. I think if I think a lifetime in prison is going to be a lot more harsh than the death penalty. If you're in your 30s or your 40s, and then you lived and you reached your 80s, 90s, even to 100, and you're actually still in prison, then that's real punishment. I mean, that's got to be real punishment. Donald Trump, the man who keeps on saying that Joe Biden is not up to the job, and Joe Biden is not, and Donald Trump is talked about how he's cognitively, brilliant. Donald Trump he was trying to say Nancy Pelosi, but in his head it was just Nikki Haley, and he's saying that he was offering Nikki Haley 10,000 troops, which is not true, right? Because he didn't offer Nancy Pelosi 10,000 troops, and to deploy troops in Washington anyway. I mean, it would be down. I don't think Nancy Pelosi could do it. I think it's only the president that can deploy troops in Washington D.C. anyway. So now, obviously, that is going to be very much soon. That's going to be the truth. The truth is going to be that Donald Trump offered Nancy Pelosi 10,000, even though he said Nikki Haley, right? And I mean, I don't know if you've seen the adverts from like the Lincoln Project. They just smashed Donald Trump to pieces all the time with just his gaps, with all his gaps. But I mean, if you used to put Donald Trump and Joe Biden up to get side by side speeches, Joe Biden is much more educated than Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump speaks like he speaks like a hillbilly. So that's why the people that he's speaking to in his rallies, they can fully understand every single word he's saying. But obviously Joe Biden is old, but if you put the two of them up together, I don't really think there's a contest between the two of them. And then for Donald Trump to do this, especially as he keeps on saying that he keeps on having these cognitive tests, right? Which is just. But he won't debate Nikki Haley, who I don't think deserves to be the president anyway, because Nikki Haley, if she can't admit to her supporters, well, the Civil War was about slavery. If she's scared to say that to her supporters, then what's she going to be like on the international stage? She's going to be a complete idiot on the international stage, isn't she? She's a fool. Donald Trump wins Hampshire by about 12 points. Now, Donald Trump was saying, he's going to be double figures, but the double figures he was expecting was in the high 20s or 30s, 40s, maybe 50s, 60s. He was expecting those type of numbers. But, it wasn't a good night for Donald Trump in Hampshire, really, because a lot of the people that have voted for Donald Trump twice have said, they're not voting for him again. So a lot of them obviously voted for Nikki Haley. So, a lot of them might not even vote when it comes down to it, but a lot of them obviously are going to switch over to the Democrats, So it wasn't as good. The night wasn't as good as Donald Trump was really expecting it. And that's the reason why I think he's so upset about it, because he's very, very annoyed about it. And he's like calling Nikki Haley bird brain and misogynistic, like calling out, saying stuff about her dress and all this type of stuff, right? So that's when he's really, really feeling the pressure. Bill Barr and Pat Cipollone, these are people who are going to give evidence against Donald Trump, and these was like, these are lawyers. Obviously, Bill Barr was like the Attorney General or something like that, right? But these are lawyers, and they are obviously Republicans. They've set up a law firm together, along with another one of Donald Trump's ex lawyers or something like that. Right, but obviously Donald Trump with Bill Barr, he just called him a rhino now. But Bill Barr saved Donald Trump over, I think, what was it, the Russia Zelensky thing, isn't it? Over the quid pro quo. And Bill Barr was like, nothing to see here, and he had the report which said that Donald Trump was as guilty as a puppy sitting next to a hot pile of poo. But Bill Barr just went in and said, no, see here, I'm not, this can't go anywhere. He should really, the DOJ should really look into charging him with what he done then. But, the way how Donald Trump just goes after him, Donald Trump just says he's a complete idiot. He's lazy and this and he's that and because that's how Donald Trump is. Once you fall out of him, he just goes up. It's just amazing how so much people actually are still prepared to work with Donald Trump, even though they know how he treats people. If they walk away or if he falls out with them, they know exactly how he treats them because they've seen him do it not up to 100, hundreds of times they've seen him do it with everybody. All those people who Donald Trump said, oh, this person's so smart, that person's so smart, and then the minute they fall out, that person's an idiot. They're lazy. They're just stupid. That's Donald Trump. Joe Biden's speech has been disrupted because of his support for Israel, and Joe Biden's going to lose a lot. He can lose a lot of voters over this, right? And he just wants to hope that it's nulled out by the people, by the Republicans who are not going to vote, because there's a lot of people who are not going to vote for both. They're not going to vote for the Republicans, but it's not. So the polls just won't vote full stop, or they might, if there's somebody else on the ticket, they might vote there, but they're not going to vote for, just not going to vote for Joe Biden because of his support. So he really needs to do something about that. Israel really needs to be reined in. Djokovic loses in Australia. I'm like, what? Djokovic? What was going on? Djokovic absolutely, I don't think he's lost there since 2018 or something like that was the last time I think he lost in Australia. So obviously he's won the Australian Open a few times, but he was must be 2020 or 2021, or might even be the 2 years where he wasn't allowed to go in it. Yeah, because he's not vaccinated, so he wasn't allowed to go. I can't remember what happened last year, but so Djokovic has been knocked out. Can you believe that? Djokovic, right, one of the greatest ever players to touch down in a tennis court, just an absolute machine, Djokovic, and I just can't believe that he actually got himself knocked out. He must have been looking the other way all game, but I think it went to 4 sets anyway. And Klopp leaves the COP, one of the most successful managers for a long time, since probably Sir Alex Ferguson, to be honest, because he's been at Liverpool for 9 years, because 2015, and he's won 6 things, so he's had a really, really good time, but he's a fantastic manager. I think he's probably going to get the, because he's saying that he's worn out, he's tired of that, but I think he's probably going to be he probably might be the next German manager, because they've got someone in temporary at the moment, so he might be the next German manager, which obviously is not as pressurised as, your Premier League or your Bundesliga or, La Liga or anything like that. It's not as pressurised as those leagues, playing the international football, because, it's not like they're training 5 days a week and then a game on the weekend. It's not like that, it's much, much more laid back. So, so I can see him being the German team manager, and obviously they'll do very, very well under him. Zombie knives are to be banned. Right. Okay. Oh, right. I thought there was already. I didn't realise I could walk down the road with a zombie knife. Machetes must be looking and thinking to themselves, yeah, that's right. Ban those zombie knives. Yeah, that's right. You ban them. I don't know why they sort of pick on certain things. Like, remember they picked on the pit bull terrier, even though it wasn't the pit bull terrier that was going around biting up all the people and killing people, right? It wasn't the pit that was doing it, but they just picked on the pit and said, you're going to be banned. So it's, there's these zombie knives, and I mean, I don't think these things I don't think they come sharpened. I think they're because they're ornaments. When they're bought, I think they're bought as ornaments, right? So, and then obviously people sharpen them, but it's just amazing how they just pick out certain things And I think they're just trying to make some type of they're trying to make some type of statement, because you've got people like Idris Elba and all them. Idris Elba's very, very, very getting very excited about zombie knives being banned, but I'm like, well, I don't see what banning is, because no one's going to stop walking. Someone who's going to carry a zombie knife, they're not going to think, oh, well, that's banned, so I'm not going to have that. I'm tucked under my shirt. Israel have had their card marked by the international court. And when I first heard this judgment, I was quite kind of pissed, because I thought, well, they should have come out and said, well, you're committing a genocide and you need to cease fire immediately. But they've sort of gone that route, but they've just gone the longer way around it, because they've said, well, you're killing too many people, and this appears, it appears like it could well be a genocide, and South Africa do have a case. And Benjamin Netanyahu has started shouting his ugly, big, fat head off, right? Because all he wants to do is just murder Palestinians. But now they've said that the ruling, this is an interim ruling, because the true thing won't come out for a good few years. But they've said that South Africa, there's certainly definitely something there when it comes to what South Africa have put across to the court. There's definitely something there. So I can see now that they've marked their card, and it's going to be kind of difficult for Israel to keep these numbers up. We're probably up to over 30,000, and it's going to be very, very difficult for Israel to keep that up now. I just can't see how they can, because they know that the international court is saying, well, we're looking at this as a genocide, and South Africa have got a point bringing this case to us. So Israel's card really is truly marked. So if they're still killing in the thousands, right, they're going to be aware that that they're committing an international crime, and so that would be a case for the international court, for them as individuals to be taken to the international court. So that, they could set a warrant out for Netanyahu if it continues, because they have warned them that we're thinking this is genocide. They haven't said that yet, and they haven't asked them to, and they haven't called for a ceasefire. Which at first I was like, oh, this is terrible. But now I've read a bit more about it. Yeah, I think they've probably gone down the right route, because now they've just marked their card and said, well, really, you need to stop what you're doing. That's basically what they said. You need to stop what you're doing, because if you go any further, it's definitely going to be classed as a genocide. Even though I believe it's a genocide already, but that's what they're saying. Will the working classes get off their lazy backside and go and fight for the United Kingdom? You see, you can't get a house. Wages is crap. They've destroyed the NHS and all these and all of our institutions. And then they said to you, can you go and be cannon fodder? Can you go and stand in front so that the Russians can shoot rockets at you? Where do I sign up? I've been hearing a lot of Black and Asian people saying, so after all these years of racist abuse, you want me to go and sign up to go and fight for you? Don't get me wrong. If one Russian boot ever stepped its foot in this country, right, I'll be the first one to go and chop that foot off with the boot around the boot, right? But to go and fight for this country, go and fight. No, come on. The way how they treat the people of this country, and they would expect the working classes to get your ass out there to go and actually on the actual front line. Not in this country, abroad. They fly you out. They put you on a plane, they give you a ticket, put you on a plane, fly you out there. I just, and I'm hearing so much of the working classes say, I can't even get a house, and you expect me to go and put my body on the line for you people. Unbelievable, isn't it, really? Soon, Rishi Sunak has said that the actions Britain has taken against the Yemen, the Houthis, is nothing to do with Gaza. Oh, really? Oh, right, okay. Right. Right. These people really think people are stupid. It's got absolutely everything to do with what they're doing in Israel. Because, the Houthis themselves have said, well, we're attacking these ships because of Israel's actions in Gaza. And Britain is saying, well, we're attacking the Houthis, but it's got nothing to do with what's going on in Gaza. But the Houthis are saying, well, we're attacking the ships because of what's going on in Gaza. So how do you get out? Because you've broken the circle. It was a circle before, but now you've broken it because you're saying it's got nothing to do with that. So it's another reason why you're attacking the Houthis. Then yes, it's international shipping. Well, can't international shipping just go around the other way? Yeah, but that will cost us more money. Who cares? It's hostile there. Go around the other way, right? So they've got that option just to go around the other way, go around past South Africa. But oh no, they say, oh no, we want to go right. We want to go right through the Red Sea, right past where the Houthis are. There have been calls for Rishi Sunak to be replaced, and those calls have immediately been shut down by even people like Jacob Rees-Mogg. Yeah, my God, this man. I'll speak about him in a minute. But yeah, Rishi Sunak, they've been asking for... And the Tories, I mean, the Tories are savage when it comes down to getting rid of a leader who they don't see as popular. They're very, very savage when it comes down to it. And, if the Tories do take a real beating, right, they're going to blame Rishi Sunak. It's not really Rishi Sunak's fault. Right? I mean, people have been calling for an election since what? Boris Johnson, from what? Boris Johnson, from probably, where we go? From probably May, June 2020. Right, that's just a couple of months after Boris Johnson actually won the election. People was asking for an election from since then. People have been saying election now, and then obviously once all the Partygate stuff come out, there was much calls for an election. Obviously, Rishi Sunak's taken over, and that has triggered the real racists within the Tory party to be very, very exercised. So that's why now if they do lose big, they're gonna blame Rishi Sunak. But the only thing that you could blame Rishi Sunak for is being a bloody Asian, and you can insert the P word right there. And a couple of Brexit stories before I go, because this I've already 32 minutes in. Whew. Britain and Canada's deal has been halted. And that was a deal the deal's been halted all over cheese. And someone should look at Liz Truss and say, that is a disgrace. Because I'm sure Liz Truss was the person I think it was her that set up this deal. What the Canadians was absolutely laughing about. No, that was the Australians that was laughing at us with their deal. But this one is because something to do with the cheeses. And then, obviously, they've got different foods standards of food, because they're very close to America, and in America they've got they've got a they have an amount of things that you can have in that, say, so you got like tinned oranges or something, or tinned mandarins or something like that. They've got an amount that you can have, like whether it's like fly larvae, or like a half a cockroach or a cockroach leg, or a rat hair or a mouse hair, or mouse droppings or rat droppings, or things like that. They've got an amount that you can have per 100 grams, whereas the EU is just like, well, if you're going to eat any type of bugs, then we're going to let you know, right? We're not going to have no allowance in a can of beans. There's no allowance, right, for any foreign bodies. Right? Not a single cockroach leg, or one single hair from a mouse, or one small dropping. Not allowed in the EU's foods. But in America, the rules are a little bit different. That's why that's why they've got things like buffalo wings. Because have you ever seen a buffalo with wings? Exactly. And next week, I'll keep on talking about this. Next week, these Brexit rules kick in, and Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is such an idiot, this 17th century, absolute clown, right? Just a fool, right? He's talking about. I see a message from him saying, "Oh, I said I didn't want none of these rules to come in. The rules that's coming in next week, I don't want none of them to come in." But you voted for Brexit, right? So you voted to strengthen the border, right, when it comes down to goods coming in from the EU. You voted for that, right? And you voted for goods going out, the same thing, right, which has destroyed the industries in this country. And now those EU traders are not going to want to do this new paperwork, because if you've got cheeses and meats, right, then they all have to have vet checks. All of them do. And there's a difference in how vets and that work in because I think a lot of them work for the state in Europe, in a lot of the European countries. So so they don't work on weekends and things and things like that. So especially like the vets who check these type of things. So it's just going to be an absolute nightmare. So we just need to get ready for our prices to start steaming up, because that's what's going to be happening in this country very, very soon. Prices are going to be shooting up because we get so much of our fruit and vegetables from the EU, from Europe, right, that it's going to absolutely just get ready. Just get ready to see the new prices coming in but they might even start kicking in straight from next week, unless the government say, no, we're going to put it off, because they've put it off 5 times so far. These new rules, what they got to bring next week, they put it so far 5 times. So we'll see if they go for the half dozen. Anyway, my friends, I have to bow out of here because this video is quite long. But I didn't do a video all week, and I done one Tuesday, right, which took. I started uploading it at 2:30. Just as I was on my way to the dentist, 2:30. And the thing didn't actually upload until about 10:15 p.m. And then for the rest of the week, I've just had such a busy week. I just have not had no time to do any content. And I'm just I want to actually slap myself in the back of the head. My friends, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribs. It's really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.